G'day everyone, Simon here from Asher Management. I'd like to introduce today Charles Kovess to the show. Welcome, Charles.
Thank you, Simon. Good to be here.
Charles is an Australian author, speaker, mentor, executive coach and businessman. He was previously a lawyer for 20 years and then made the career change back in the 90s, about the same time as a few years later, he wrote his book, Passionate People Produce. That was his first book. He's recently launched a podcast, which is really excellent. And I'll include the links in the show notes of this recording so that people get an idea of the websites and where to get hold of you, Charles. But welcome. I'm really interested to catch up with you today.
Thank you, Simon. It's been a long time that we've known each other. Can you pinpoint precisely or around about how we do know each other?
Well, I can't remember the exact dates, but it was in the mid-'80s, so early 80s. And so Charles and I know each other from water polo. So from water polo, and then also you were studying law. But what I wanted to talk about is this passion provocateur that you've become. What was what changed in your life to go from being a lawyer for some quite big time law firms here in Melbourne, and then having your own practice for a good 10, 12 years? What led that change for you?
Yeah, well, I finished law school in 1973 and I practiced law until 1993. And the last 7 years I was head of commercial law at the 10th biggest law firm in Australia.
Right.
And I loved it. And all my life I wanted to be a lawyer. And in 1992 and 1993, I did a lot of personal development programs. I was always interested in personal development.
Yep.
One of my mentors was a Hungarian priest, a Jesuit priest, who was a very wise man. And I got an honours degree in law, but then he said, well, what's your next learning journey? So I then got a Master of Laws from Monash University. I got my bachelor's at Melbourne. And so I had this influence of lifelong learning.
Yep.
Then I did a lot of personal development, and I went to business school in Hawaii with Robert Kiyosaki, a program called Business School with Money and You. And it was during that program that the 16-day course, that I immersed myself in the work of Buckminster Fuller, who I'd learned about previously. And it was immersed in an educational program that I decided education was more important than law. And there were some 160 people there who invested a lot of money to be there.
Yep.
And most of them didn't know what they were passionate about. And I knew what I was passionate about. I was passionate about law.
Yep.
And so I decided I was going to get into education and brand myself as a passion provocateur, as Australasia's passion provocateur.
Yep.
To provoke people to discover and pursue what they're passionate about, because most people are not doing that. They weren't doing it then, and that was 27 years ago. And I'm still doing this work because I consider that as human beings, the core element of your success is to have self-awareness.
Yep. Around
who you are, and then further self-awareness around what your passion is, and then pursuing that passion. And then it ties into this question of, what is success? Most human beings want to be successful. Yep. And they want to be happy. Yep. So it's a two-way question. Do you want to be happy? Yes. Do you want to be successful? Yes. Will you be happy if you're not a success? No. Will you be happy if you're a success? Yes. And my favorite definition of success that I commend to everyone watching this program, it's the best definition of success I've seen. I learned it from Earl Nightingale, fantastic program called The Stranger's Secret. And it's this: success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Now, what is worthy? Who determines what is worthy? And the answer is that, Simon, you determine what's worthy for you. I determine what's worthy for me.
Yep.
And each one of us thinks differently. Each person thinks differently. It's remarkable in the work I've been doing how amazingly, strangely, each one of us thinks. The impact of our subconscious minds, let alone if there's reincarnation, let alone all the stuff that we've absorbed from our parents. And so the worthy ideal, and my wish for everyone who's watching this program, is to say, hey, what is my worthy ideal for my life?
Yeah.
And I decided that was more important to teach that than to be a lawyer. And I thank you for the compliment on my water polo refereeing, and I was an international referee and I loved it. But then I had 4 children, so that became a bit difficult.
And it doesn't really pay the bills, yeah.
But I was a very successful lawyer, and I had a number of people tell me that I was the best lawyer that they had that ever worked with. It was a tragedy that I gave the law away.
Yep.
But there are plenty of lawyers. There are not many passion provocateurs, and so that's why I left the law and went cold turkey. Went from a big income in today's terms of over $1 million a year to 0, and then rebuild.
Wow. But the opportunity to follow that passion. So that's.
Yeah, that's, you know, I could see, you know, my father was a very good philosopher. The Jesuit priest was a very good philosopher, and philosophy guides my work.
Yep.
And part of the big question around the self-awareness game is, what is this game of life about? Because in 100, 120 years' time, you're dead in the context of a 4 billion year old planet. What's the point? And if you don't know what the point is, then life becomes very difficult. When you know what the point is, when you know what the worthy ideal is, this life becomes a magnificent game.
Yep.
So that's how I like to play this, like a water polo game, play the game of life. The other issue around passion is that when you access it, then you have the courage to do scary things. So you shifting to another country is a scary thing to do.
Yep.
My parents were refugees from Hungary. Well, it was a bit easier, but they didn't want to leave Hungary. But the communists came and they wanted freedom. And so the courage, what passion does is it fuels, it's the source of your courage.
Yep.
So passion is a source of spiritual energy, unlimited energy. And indeed the word, that the spiritual energy comes from your heart. And then the etymology of the word courage, I talk about this in my first book, Passion That People Produce, that the etymology of the word courage is the French word cœur from the Latin cor, meaning heart.
Right.
So when you're coming from your heart space, that's what we call courage, because fear comes from your mind.
Yep.
And so you only need courage when there's fear, because if there's no fear, you don't need courage. And so that's what passion gives you, this amazing resource. And I happen to think courage is the #1 capability of great leadership. Leaders have to be courageous if they're going to be excellent leaders.
It's interesting. David Hawkins, Dr. David Hawkins has got a book called Power versus Force. Yep. And he's got this hierarchy of emotions, and courage is the first positive emotion. And so sort of as a hierarchy of different emotions, it's from a positive, negative, not to say good and bad, but just from a polar direction. But courage is that first one. Really interesting. So what are you passionate about at the moment? So you've been motivating people, and what do you call yourself? A laxative for people to make a change?
Right, I consider myself to be a mental laxative. I unblock constipated thinking. And indeed, you know, that always gets a laugh, and as a metaphor, it's a good reminder that sharing ideas, the way that we share ideas is crucial to the person who receives it. So if we can tell a story or a metaphor or an analogy so they understand it. So constipated thinking is stuck in this one narrow channel of thinking when there's a whole universe out there for us. And so
I love it.
Yes. So
it's a
what is a laxative?
What are you passionate about at the moment? What's your point of focus on?
Well, I was challenged many years ago in a very deep 4-day personal development program put on by the Brahma Kumaris, and there's a Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No.
Based in India, and they call themselves the BKs. And these programs, it was high-level business people And I said, what would you give your life for? Good question. What would you give your life for? So my answers were really quite, I had no difficulty deciding. This was my children.
Yep.
If my children's lives were at risk, I would give my life for that. And I would give my life for freedom. So what I'm passionate about is those two things. But I don't say that, you know, family comes first across everything. No, that is I think, quite a simplistic idea, and there's a distinction between simple and simplistic.
Yep.
And Albert Einstein said, make things as simple as possible, but no simpler. And similarly, to say, when people say, oh, family is everything, no, it's not. Family is one part of your life. It's not everything. Plenty of people have lost their families and then created magnificent lives.
Yep.
Still, I am passionate about this idea of freedom. And ironically, a long time ago, I decided freedom was a crucial element in our humanity.
Yep.
So as a passion provocateur, if I can provoke you to pursue your passion, you will have the resources to give yourself permission to choose freely what
and
you want to do.
That feeling of freedom, it's an amazing feeling. Yeah.
So you're free to make that rather than burdened down by other people's expectations.
Yep.
And so my parents, having left Hungary because they wanted freedom, so they come to a free country, or freer country than under communism.
Yep.
And over the last 8 years, while I'm running my speaking business, coaching, writing, I was also asked to help a company commercialize in the field of industrial hemp.
Right.
To commercialize the world's best machine. So this machine that's made in Geelong, I'm now the CEO because the founder died some 4.5 years ago. Some international marketing director to help them commercialize this machine. And then the founder and the CEO died. His younger brother was the chairman, so he's still around.
Right.
And so I'm helping to commercialize this enterprise. I have a minority shareholding in the business, and it's a sweat equity deal. And it's a big global business. It will become a massive global business. Now, the point about hemp that's relevant to this story is that it is my view, number one, that without freedom, we are not humans. That's one of the topics in my new podcast that I've started.
Yep.
Freedom is what makes us human. Secondly, the key to human freedom is successful, profitable, sustainable family farms. And you think, why is that so? Well, the lesson from my parents going through World War II was that people on the land had much better time during the war than people in cities.
Right.
So when you start to go, hey, what will guarantee human freedom? It is a huge range of farms through every country where families can basically tell the government, get stuffed.
Yep.
Because just imagine if everybody's living in the city and all farming is corporatized,
Yep.
we are at the mercy of government dictate, as we are now in this coronavirus lockdown. And so
government or large corporate, you're in charge. Yeah.
And so the hemp business, what the purpose behind the hemp business, the philosophical basis behind the hemp business, is that if I can help farmers be more successful through hemp, it will support human freedom. And so I'm building a multi-million-dollar enterprise.
Yep.
And I'm very confident that the work that I'm doing is worthwhile, and I urge anyone watching this to start reading about hemp, because hemp is the most amazing crop. It is the most amazing crop on the planet. Why? Because from one crop that you can picture in your mind as bamboo, you can create 10 different products, 10 different groups of products, and thousands of different products from this one plant.
Yeah.
So I'm running that business. I'm running my speaking, coaching business. I'm running the business with my wife of dental practice management training, and I'm doing consulting to other businesses. So Simon,
nice.
I'm still working 70 hours a week.
And so, Charles, what do you do to keep yourself fit? I mean, to be working like that with a number of different businesses, mentally, you're sharp. Physically, now I know you like to ride. What other health sides of things? What do you do to keep yourself so aligned in to be able
Well,
to do that energy?
for 35 years, I've been competing in triathlons.
Right.
So I've done the Ironman, I've done many half Ironmans, and the only reason why I've done more Ironmans is because I constantly make this balance between injury and training. So
Yeah.
I run my life in balance, but I train almost every day. So over the last 35 years, I have trained 6 days a week, on average 8 hours a week. So swimming, cycling, and running, and I have not had one operation under the surgeon's knife for an injury. So,
Nice.
so I'm also of the view that being healthy is far more important than being wealthy.
Yep.
So I've always found, and here's a mantra that I also teach, is that 1 hour of exercise gives you 2 hours of productivity. So it's not true when someone says I haven't got time to exercise, because when you exercise, it generates time rather than costing you time. Right. So I'm still at it, Simon. I will be for the rest of my life. In terms of what I eat, my nutrition, I take reasonable care with that. I have all my life. Now I'm 67 years of age. I don't have a doctor. I haven't been in hospital in my life.
Yep.
I don't intend to, and my outcome is to live to at least 120. So on my reckoning, I've had since the age of 12. I've got 55 years of business. I'm just halfway through my business career.
Yep. I like it.
And so the other question for retirees, I think as human beings, we are not. It is an unnatural act to retire. And what I call retirement is when you cease to make a meaningful contribution. That's my definition of retirement. So people who think this is some idyllic life of sitting back and retiring, that's because they've worn out. That's because they haven't been passionate. That's because they've had enough. I say to people, how long do you want to live? Oh, 80 will see me out. I go, what? I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And so my outcome is to live for a very long time.
Yep.
And so I look after this machine, and then I meditate. So I look after the mental, the physical, and the spiritual.
Right.
And that way, I meditate almost every day, and I have a nap almost every day, which I've been doing since 1970 when I was at university, when I was 17 years of age. So, I always found, I look on a 20-minute, half-hour nap during the day as a hard disk defrag.
Yep.
Like a reset, that I go from 6 o'clock in the morning, go swimming, training, run, go like crazy, and then after lunch, a bit like like Europeans do.
Yeah.
Maybe it's genetic, is to stop and have that siesta, and then get back into it.
It makes a lot of sense. I like it. I think if nothing else, I like to have a little bit of quiet time after lunch, even if it's just to sit and read. I enjoy that quiet time. I find it difficult to be going flat out the whole time. I really like a little bit of the peaks and troughs. I feel that I look at the Europeans, the way they live their life with a lot more passion. The Mediterranean style of countries, where in order to lift, you need to also allow yourself to have that downtime, and you can't just be high the whole time. You just burn out. So
yeah, agree.
Oh, fantastic, Charles. So now, what other resources do you and before we finish up now, any resources that you think that people should be putting some focus on? I'll put some in the notes here about your websites, charleskovess.com and also kovess.com. But correct. any other resources that you would recommend people to look at?
I think my 2 books have got a bunch of resources at the end of them. So people, those books are available just by contacting me on those websites. They've been around for a long time, but people still who buy them and read them get enormous benefit from it. The question of resources, there's so many resources available. The issue is to decide in which direction we want to go.
Yeah.
And so the next stage of my learning is in which direction, and then say, okay, I need a resource to become good at strategic thinking, for example.
Yeah.
Because so first there's the personal development side, the self-awareness side. But then there's the skill development side. So what I would say is, it's one of my 7 strategies for superior performance is to invest 5% of your time each week in learning.
Yep.
And so if you do the maths, there's 168 hours in a week. 5% is 8 hours a week. Now just imagine if you were doing 8 hours of learning a week.
Yep.
And the number that's that is the resource that I would say that each one of us has this resource. And if you spend 15 minutes a day on a particular topic, after 2 years, you've done 180 hours of learning on that topic, and you would be in the top 3% on the planet of knowledge around that topic. That's 15 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And so that's where I would suggest everyone with a changing world, you must keep learning minimum 8 hours a week. And Buckminster Fuller, I learned from him this fantastic principle that as human beings, our reward for solving problems is not peace and quiet and happiness. Our reward for solving problems is bigger problems.
That's it.
And so the ongoing learning journey, all that's going to mean is you're going to have bigger problems, because if you're growing, you have to have bigger problems. Otherwise, you and I would be playing noughts and crosses, but that's boring.
Exactly.
So the message is to love your problems because you deserve them.
Yep. Nice. Oh, fantastic. Well, thanks, Charles. Thanks for being on the show today. Really enjoyed catching up.
Thank you for the opportunity, Simon. Great to catch up and share time on this, and well done on your career and your commitment to learning. And everyone who watches this, you know, it's not an option. And the tragedy is that learning, we are born learning machines.
Yep. And
for most of us, learning becomes unpleasant because of the educational experience, as Robert Kiyosaki often says.
Yep.
And so you have to restructure this thinking around learning. So you go, yes, I want to keep learning, and make it in a way that we enjoy, and it can be enjoyable. So I'm sure you enjoy it. I certainly enjoy it. Yep. And I wish for all of you an ongoing learning journey.